aware of all the flu up in the air. I'ma get me a shot, make the flu go away. Flu-hating rapper, just rapping away. Yo, flu-hating rapper, it's a flu-hating rap. Hey, flu-hating rap. First you step to the left, then you step to the right, and your chin is clapped. If you don't have the flu, then don't bother listening. The flu snot is glistening all around us. I'm a flu-hating rapper. Go to the crapper when the poop comes out like...
What it is, my brother?
What it is, player?
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. So we are here, and we're dressing up like a couple of cool dudes.
Yeah, that's what we think cool dudes do.
Yeah, they just run amok. There's shenanigans all over. And what did you say? Capers?
Capers. We were capering, cutting some revels there.
Cutting some revels. No, because we're talking about a cool movie today. I'm going to take this off. We're talking about one of our gems, one of our favorites, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done Tarantino yet, have we?
Not yet. I don't think we have.
No, but now the count of movies is so large, it's just time. So, summer is a season that I kind of always associate with like going to the drive-in and stuff like that. And there's a genre of film that kind of hits that mark as well.
Yeah, around about 10 years ago, we had that whole Grindhouse thing. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a big deal that summer. You know, it was Planet Terror and Death Proof. And from that, it spawned a whole kind of like revitalization of that kind of genre. Yeah, you could call it a genre.
It was kind of a subgenre. I know a lot of independent filmmakers and small movies on a regional scale tended to adopt a lot of the principles of those movies. Mm-hmm. And it's hard not to find that appeal because when done right, it's extremely entertaining. Mm-hmm. But you also have a lot of people that I wouldn't say necessarily misuse it, but they don't understand it.
Like we're anyone to talk, you know, you or I.
Yeah, it's not like we had a huge grounding in it.
No.
I think it's easier to tell a good Grindhouse film from a bad one, especially when they try to hit those notes so consistently. With that being said, we entered into a film that was actually called Grindhouse. The two movies that comprise it, Planet Terror and Death Proof, were shown back to back in a lot of theaters when it was released. I only really remember Death Proof though.
Well, okay, you know that's the thing. It's like when these movies came out, Death Proof was by far the more popular choice because it's doing zombies. You know, it's more action and it's actually funnier. But when I saw Death Proof, that immediately was quite a bit higher.
It was totally so different.
It was.
And there was a sense, and I'm not here to kick him while he's down, because he's been down for a while, but it was so obvious between Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez which one was the better filmmaker out of the two of them. And, you know, for better or for worse, as time goes by, Death Proof just keeps getting better. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of the people that look at Death Proof, they all seem to have their own favorite aspect to it, if not multiple. Like, what's one of your favorite parts of Death Proof?
Kurt Russell.
He's fabulous.
I love Kurt Russell. He's always been the man, and you know, up until that final scene where he's hanging out the car.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he is. He's that old school cool.
Old man cool. You know, what's really weird is like having worked at a bar where all these old people kind of gather like that. Sure, we've had some aged clients and whatnot, but none of them were as cool as Kurt Russell.
No.
He plays a character, Stuntman Mike.
Yeah.
And one of the most inventive characters in what I guess you would call a killer movie? Or
a serial killer movie, I guess.
Serial killer movie? There's not really a genre for it. There's this guy that goes around killing people with a car.
Yep.
A stuntman who has figured out a way to safety-proof his car with like harnesses and
reinforced steel bars, you know.
yeah, just to make sure that any crash he gets into, he can survive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he uses this car as a weapon for his own salacious needs.
For his jollies.
Or shooting his goo. Well,
I hope I never get that far.
No.
Where I have to kill people to...
Well, driving a car to somebody to get your rocks off, that's what you call a fetish. That's one hell of an extreme way to do it. But at the end of the day, when you have a character like that, it almost breeds a movie of high action, cool music, cool cars, and it's by default. You're going to end up with these things. And that's the inventiveness of this movie. Is it's just so different. I've never heard of a plot like it. The actors and actresses in the film are all entertaining, despite a lot of people having a gripe with this film.
They did, and I can get it. You know, this movie is very much very dialogue heavy, as maybe all his movies are.
I'd say most of his movies
lot of them?
were known for having moments of quips and banter and such like that. Being very smart, very sharp, and then they kind of intersperse those moments through the movie. This is very dialogue heavy.
Yeah, and you know what got under a lot of people's skin was that it's an all-female cast, basically.
Yeah.
All the main characters are...
75% of the cast is women.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about girl things. You know, stuff women talk about that you and I were not privy to those conversations.
No.
Not really. You know, and it got under a lot of people's skin. You know, they said, well, I didn't want to watch 2 hours of a bunch of chicks talking. Granted, the car scenes are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, you know, Stuntman Mike is an amazing character, but just the sheer amount of girl talk in it turned a lot of people off. And I think Planet Terror did significantly better in the theaters, and, you know, it might be held in higher regard, but I think this is a super cool movie.
It's a great, cool movie, and the only reason I can say that they included so many of those scenes with the women is they are all pretty in their own way, and it always harkens back to Albert Brooks's character in the movie Drive, the way he talks about his time making Grindhouse movies.
I used to produce movies in the 80s. Kind of like action films, sexy stuff. One critic called them European. I thought they were shit.
What happens?
So, you know, if nothing, it's an homage to movies like that. And that's kind of my takeaway from this. This is probably the ultimate, I guess, send up to those kinds of movies, paying respects but still crafting something new. And that's one thing I don't think Planet Terror did. Is you know, zombies are hot at the time, and you know, off the wall storylines are big at the time, and they cram too much into that.
Yeah.
And this one just tells a simple, touching story of a man and his car, and all the
quest to get off.
The quest to get off.
No, actually, you know, one of the things that, especially in the first part of the story, where he's going after the first group of girls, you get the sense that there's a message there that men have lost their way. That every time, like, these girls are talking, and this one says, "Oh, I made out with this guy," and then her friends ask her, "Oh, well, was it at his place or your place?" He says, "Oh, it's mine, of course." You know, it's like, and then in comes Kurt Russell, who's an old school guy.
Yeah.
And, you know,
He literally made his money by being as tough as he can.
Yeah. So he's got a certain charm to a certain kind of woman, maybe, that...
There's a fascination with the old style man.
Yeah.
And it's strange to see that kind of aspect play out. And for sure, there are always undertones of that throughout this movie. It's a hypersexual movie when you get down to it. Even down to the stunts when Zoe Bell is playing ship's mast. You know, that's a very sexual thing, because when you think of the mermaid riding on the ship's mast, you know, she's strapped to the ship
She's
with boobs out.
boobs.
That's a side of it. Is cars are very sexual as well. I mean, men in general label objects, inanimate objects, with female names.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, there's strapping into this woman and riding her hard and stuff like that. There's all sorts of that subtext going on, and you don't have to lay it on too thick to have it hit your subconscious. This movie lays it on thick.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, and frankly, it comes out and tells you frequently, But all that aside, I think it's a very good movie. Now, what do you think of the Grindhouse experience as a whole? Like, was this actually a thing?
I'm too young to even.
I'm too young as well.
Yeah, we are literally you're 10 years out of it.
Uh-huh.
I guess the closest
I was
thing.
born 10 years out of it, yeah.
I would say the closest we would have ever gotten to the Grindhouse cinema experience would have been 80s slasher flicks.
Which I never saw.
Those went all the way back to the Grindhouse days.
Uh-huh.
And in their roots, though the makeup effects probably weren't as good, there were still those stories there. And, I can understand the nostalgia some people have for them if they ever experienced it firsthand. Mm-hmm. But for me, it still comes down to story first.
Uh-huh.
And, everyone has funny moments, like movies like Dolomite. Mm-hmm. Sure, there's 3 or 4 good hard laughs, but they're not because the movie's funny. They're because the movie's bad. And a lot of nostalgia comes from these horrible moments in these movies.
It's incredible, like in Dolomite, the kind of... It's like they're ad-libbing some lines, like how often Dolomite says, "You insecure white honky," or something like that.
Yeah, what was his other one?
Throwing
Signifying fool.
Are you throwing insecurity at me?
Yeah.
Like, we're having a life and death fight here.
Between you and me, Dolomite, I'm very secure.
I'm quite secure.
I'm content with where I am.
I don't think anyone's ever said that to me in a heated discussion.
Yeah, but that's my take. Is the Grindhouse cinema comes from a point of almost enjoying what you could get out of something that you knew was going to be bad inherently. You look for the pluses to save it and bring it up to enjoyable. And I'm not saying that's a horrible thing. We all watch bad movies.
Okay, well, here's my take on it. About the whole Grindhouse thing, is that it starts with... I think there's actually... I might make some movie critics mad if I say this, but I don't think there's too much a difference between a Grindhouse movie and an art house movie. Like, both are working probably with very similar budgets.
Yeah.
And I don't think... Well, it's happened, but I don't think... generally, you set out to make a movie for it to be bad, unless it's Sharknado or Sharknado 2 or...
Well, they make movies to make money.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of that in the Grindhouse aspect as well.
Uh-huh.
They want to put it out quick, shoot it fast, and get it into theaters fast. Mm-hmm. But you're kind of right. The difference between Grindhouse and art house is that it's the amount of time from the start of shooting till it's in the theaters. Mm. Art house films can take years, even with shoestring budgets. Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of problems that pop up, and if there's a problem in a Grindhouse film, they either cut the part horribly in a huge editing spree, or they change it enough so it fits in. Uh-huh. Characters will disappear from Grindhouse movies. Yeah. There will be some inexplicable dialogue shifts in conversations at the same breakfast table. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. They're doing what they can to get it out fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess there really isn't too much a difference other than time. That's what I would say. Mm-hmm.
But, regardless of all that, I personally think this is the better of the 2 Grindhouse movies. You should see it. If you didn't like it the first time around, it's been, 8 years, 9 years since it's
probably
been out?
Damn near a decade.
Near a decade. Watch it again because, you might have a different appreciation for it now.
If there's one thing I took away from this that'll always stick around with me, it's the soundtrack.
Yeah, hell of a soundtrack.
Tarantino's always been known for choosing good songs to fit his movies. Like, he doesn't have a lot of original scores
Except
made for it.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah, that's
I
horrible.
hate that song.
But this soundtrack is phenomenal, pulling a lot of strange R&B, funk, blues, even down to like some country twang and whatnot, and mixes it all together for one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. And I still play a lot of the songs quite a bit. So that's my takeaway: is watch the movie, remember the soundtrack. But I love the movie itself, so I have nothing but high praise for it. Everyone I watch this movie with enjoys it. Now, how about you?
This was a favorite at work, especially amongst the girls. They love these kick-ass women doing kick-ass things. You know, the guys, they love the soundtrack as well. They like the cars. I knew quite a few car guys at the time. You know, and this movie rose to a fair bit of prominence. It was on everyone's shelf.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I don't see how Planet Terror did so much better than it.
It just looked better at the time on the surface. You know, that was Planet Terror's problem, is it had too big of a budget. It looks like it has a big budget.
Yeah.
And that's not Grindhouse. It's not honest to the genre. And it feels that way every time I see Planet Terror. I've only seen it maybe 3 times.
Well, you know, Planet Terror is not a bad movie. It's not bad. You know, I have a good time seeing it, but I never make a point of watching it.
No, 'cause, you know, it is good, but there's just not enough cool in there.
Yeah.
You know? And they tried so damn hard, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's not what I want when I hear Grindhouse. So, that being said, we may have to go and take a look at Planet Terror.
Yeah, we should.
You know, not necessarily a double feature back to back, but it would be a good way to bookend this new summer season that we're moving into. So, what says you about summer?
You put me on the spot. Okay, fine. I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement.
Summer is a season.
It is a thing. It does exist.
So join us throughout the rest of the summer and have some fun on these hot, steamy nights.
Later, fools.
Oh.